Hey YouTube! This week we're gonna get into more drum patterns than just our simple 4 on the floor right here. If you've been playing along at home, you've got something that sounds similar to this, where you got your 2 synth parts and the kick going thump, 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 thump. And let's turn off the synths, just so we're listening to the drums here. So we got this. And let's copy this pattern by clicking copy and then a new pattern. And you hear we have nothing going on here. So we'll paste our kicks into here. And let's turn off these last 2 kicks. So we're just going kick, kick, and throw in snares. Alright, now my head's already bobbing. We're ready to go. Let's throw in another kick here on the 11. So now it's going kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. Let's copy that and put that over here into this other pattern. And now let's move this kick from the 11 over to the 7. So it's the same sort of thing where we're going kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, except now we're doing the kind of ghost kick here at a different time. So it's going versus so it gives you a completely different sort of groove based on where that second kick is. I mean, we're only changing one little position here, and it changes dramatically. So let's start throwing in some closed hats here. And you'll notice we're not hearing anything because I've still got the cutoff reduced, and this affects all the instruments. So as I bring this in, you're hearing more of the snap on the snare, as well as now all the hats here. And you can get kind of crazy with the hats. You know, you can completely load this thing up. But if you try to throw in an open hat on this, let me increase the volume on that. You see, even with the volume maxed, you're not hearing that because the closed hat is overriding the open hat. See, as soon as I turn that off at the position that the open hat's on, you're hearing that. And the reason for that is the way a actual hi-hat works. It's only got 2 positions where you use a pedal to either open the hats or close the hats, so you can't sound an open hat and a closed hat at the same time. And this drum machine is trying to duplicate that. And you'll hear here as I turn off the closed hat on the 14, you hear how that now sounds longer. Because as soon as it gets that closed hat, it chokes it. So we're letting it sound the second open hat for a while, kind of like a ride. And let's go back to our other pattern here. And here let's be a little bit more conservative with our closed hats. And we're putting our open hats once again on the 15 and 13 to coincide with the snare. And I'm intentionally choking it here because I don't want it to sound too long. But let's change our... well, make sure you're paying attention to where your volume parts are at. Alright. But let's change our sound bank to the 909. Ah, you hear how much better those hats sound now. That is because the 909 is a sampler and not a synthesizer, so these are actual hat samples that are being played, so it sounds much more natural when we're doing a lot of them. And we now have the addition of a ride sound. You see how we're just bouncing right back and forth between these two, and although we're using slightly different patterns, they're blending well together because we're using the kicks at the same place and the snare at the same place. So the kicks mostly at the same place. We're maintaining a groove throughout. In fact, we could even go all the way back to our first pattern here. So we got kind of a slow sort of thing going here, building up the drama. And if you're particularly into your clap sounds and stuff, you can throw that on where you've got the snare. And notice I'm trying to be pretty conservative about where I'm putting the accents. I'm not putting them on places where I've got notes for other drum sounds other than the hats. Let's add a variation now to this pattern here. We're going to copy it, put it over onto 4. Now let's take out that ride. All right. And let's switch the position of the kick again. So now it's going between the 7 and the 11 on these notes. And you see we're just moving a few notes around and we're getting so much variation now. You can get fancy and start playing with where you've got your chokes on your hats going on. So remember, we're using the closed hat to choke the open hat on the first open hat sound at 5. And then on 13 it goes shh. We can choke that a little bit more. And that itself is bringing in its own rhythm. Let's copy that again. And now I'm going to throw in a whole bunch of open hats. Let me kill all the close so you can hear what I'm doing here. All right, so we've got the open hats already on where we got our snare. Let's switch our bass kick again. All right, so we've got our snare on 5 and 13 and our open hats on 5 and 13. And let's double this up here. So now we've changed our hat pattern dramatically, right? We got lots of open hats going on, and we're choking it with the closed hats, except on the last two, the 7 and 15, we're letting it sound into the 8 and 16. So we've dramatically changed our rhythm, right? But we can still pop over here and back and forth. And did you notice as I changed patterns there, it finished sounding one pattern before switching to another one. Like here, you know, we got this pattern here that's doing 4 kicks, 3, 4. Two, 3, 4, and then it sounds the next pattern. So if I only let it sound once and switch it over, it still sounds 3, 4, and then goes over. So now we've got 5 different variations of our drum beat. Let's bring our first synth part back in. You can just keep playing around with it like this. We'll get into how to sequence this in later lessons, but just have fun with this for right now.